This is a raider. This is 2 raiders. And this is what we're fighting. What if we played Rimworld, but every 5 days we had to fight a raid that gets 50% bigger each time? Again, and again, and again, all the ways up to wave 20. But what if each raid isn't just normal raiders? It could be Halo Spartans, Ancient Dwarves, the Axis Powers, Space Marines, Rat Furries, the Doomslayer, or something much, much worse. Now that sounds fair. Also, a post-recording note, this was made before the new Odyssey DLC, because it was announced as I was making the video. Thanks, Tynan, I'm taking your kidney. So with that out of the way, let's begin. We land in a desert valley with 3 special pawns. Our first is Kato, an exiled space marine. As an avid lobotomy enthusiast, his primary specialty is hitting things really hard. Next is Screech, a definitely human spellcaster who is very smart, about 30% of the time. Our last colonist is Jim. He doesn't say much. He doesn't have passions. He just showed up one day and I'm too scared to ask him to leave. He says he's incapable of violence, but somehow I doubt that. In terms of food, we have no food, or anything else for that matter. We're simply going to have to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and ask our wealthy uncle for a loan. In the top right is the wave counter, showing how long until the next wave and what it contains. Each wave will be 50% larger than the last, up to wave 20, assuming we can get there. We'd need to find steel, components, and a reliable source of food. Strip mining would be our best friend for now, while the edges of the map have some fertile tiles for growing. So until our potatoes grow, we'll be eating like supermodels, which means no food and lots of throwing up. But at least the sleep is peaceful, ignoring the sounds of the flourishing local wildlife. Kato has trained with the finest British chefs, which is why his signature cooking ability is to vomit acid. Jim, on the other hand, is just physically unable to sleep, allowing him to speed mine with the determination of a Romanian Uber driver who you just told to go fast. Day 1 ended with a pleasant visit from our neighbors, the Void. They have one simple demand: leave the planet permanently right now. We get 3 options. If we insult them, where the manners come from. Why are you running? Begging them for mercy gives us a 30-day grace period, and even a nice little gift. The Void faction really is a reasonable and well-intentioned group of people. I'm sure they'll do nothing but help us this whole time. With the first raid coming in 4 days, it was time to do some mining and make our base not totally terrible. Strip mine, expanded. Steel, acquired. Emus, punched. Productivity was soaring from 0 all the ways up to 1. We even excavated an ancient demonic danger, meaning this was where we would put our base. Somewhere that strikes fear into the hearts and minds of enemies. Somewhere like Belgium. Our first raid is simple. 3 tribals. They look at doors the same way I look at a kilometer. Scary and too advanced for my American mind. I only measure in burger buns per eagle flap, and these tribals will only go through open doors. We can lure one in, incapacitate them, and fight the rest in a very difficult battle. After each wave is defeated, we receive 1 of 3 rewards, with rarities ranging from poor to normal and good to legendary. We received a random food and medicine drop, marking the first time we've eaten something other than raw iguana. The next wave will be from the UNSC. This is the lucky tribal, because the other one has the misfortune of a Belgian prison in the Congo. His temporary forced labor for life will give us the space to start researching. Opening up the menu, and I am immediately greeted with 20 separate tech trees, most of which I've never used, and some of which may get me killed. We will be trying to gear people with chain swords and advanced weapons, but that's locked behind advanced fabrication, so we've basically got to finish the vanilla tech tree first. Plus, with every faction hostile to us, the only possible traders we can get are orbital traders, meaning we need microelectronics as soon as possible. We have research, we have storage, we have the obligatory recruitment dungeon, and a barracks with the amenities of an Amazon delivery van, with a package in hot pursuit, the ambushed Praetor, 1 dead cactipine, and we've saved this royal. His escape shuttle awaits. Makaros has sky-high expectations, but I once read in a book that the key to happiness is low expectations, so what better way to lower them than by sending him to jail? His faction can only hate me so much, plus he's a level 4 Psycaster, which we will definitely be needing later. In the meantime, we recruited the tribal we captured from Wave 1. Winston Wave sends threats that get larger over time, independent of colony wealth or number of colonists. That means we want as many colonists as physically possible. If you can hold a gun, you're useful, and if you can't hold a gun, I still have a job for you, standing in a doorway, shielding me from bullets. It's time for Wave 2, and the United Nations has sent their finest peacekeepers. But this is no backwater third world country. It's an advanced backwater third world country. They contracted the plague. Screech is a pestilence spellcaster, so all of his abilities give diseases. Our Wave 2 reward had a legendary 25 Empire honor, but the only thing the Empire is willing to send us is a sternly worded letter strapped to a cruise missile. So I chose the colonist reward instead. The scariest creature in the world, a Russian woman. The downed UNSC was a crazed gunman and had a warpstone addiction. Now, as someone who fully supports drug rehabilitation, I like to selflessly take it upon myself to snort all the drugs I come across, so that nobody else has to. They call me Mother Teresa, because I'm the patron saint of charitable employment. After each wave, the faction that raided is excluded from future waves. That means every faction will eventually raid, even the less ideal ones. Fortunately, the next wave is just the fine folks at Lockheed Martin. I too believe in utilitarianism, so when my prisoners sleeping prevents me from interacting with them, I simply shank them in bed so I can have a recruitment conversation in the middle of the night. But our recruitment was interrupted by a conversion chamber. I have no idea what that is, but it sounds a lot like Birmingham. So I sent Kato out to shoot it. That's not good. It hasn't even lost 1% HP. What the fuck? We could probably just hide behind the wall and it'll de-aggro though. Yeah, apparently this thing does 400 plus damage per hit. That's enough to one-shot almost everything in the game, including walls. It's called a Black Leaper, has higher armor in its skin than full cataphract armor, and will never stop chasing us. So that's it, right? This thing is basically unkillable. We're totally screwed. But I've got a plan. This thing is not physically fast enough to catch anyone. So theoretically, if someone were to, say, run in circles day and night, we could keep it at bay indefinitely. It's not a perfect solution, and honestly, it's not even a solution, but it's our new plan. Jim is the only colonist who doesn't sleep, is pretty much the perfect candidate, if we include the time-to-time starvation, because he still needs to eat. But on an unrelated note, I have good news. Makaros has been promoted from prisoner to slave, and we're having a pizza party to celebrate. We still don't have that many people, and there's a lot of hauling that needs to be done around the base. That's why we're going to use a creative solution to fix this problem. Threatening Makaros with forced labor. Step 1 is making him take off all his clothes and royal apparel, because it drops their suppression. Nobles will normally refuse to do hauling or cleaning, but this is overridden when they're enslaved. We can also still use and level up his psycasting, and because I'm using vanilla psycasting expanded, we can choose his specialization trait, and I went with Archon. This is mostly stock standard psycast, but it does have a psychic shock to down enemies easily so we can recruit them, at the negligible cost of setting their heads on fire and giving them brain damage. And if you're wondering, no, this does not work on the Black Leaper. It's immune to all psychic powers, because why wouldn't it be? The in-game tooltip does say it's vulnerable to heat stroke, so I just need to get it above its comfortable temperature, 900 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hotter than Mercury facing the sun. Although it does have a hunger bar like any other creature. Unlike any other creature, it's 30 hunger bars in one. I did start building a box to see if I could get a consistent 900 degree oven, and there's technically something we can try for that, but I'll get to it later. Right now, we had to deal with the utilitarian raid. 5 armored mercenaries coming from the south, but it would take them a while to break down the wall.
I may not have a brain, gentlemen, but I have an idea.
I was hoping the Leaper would de-aggro, but no. So it's back to running in circles again. On account of Jim's 5-day straight marathon, the Black Leaper will hereby be called Big Jim. Our next raid would be against an even more cruel and calculating opponent, the Republic of Finland.
Everyone can homo for free.
Raids get larger based on raid points, a value assigned in Rimworld to determine the power level of a raid. John Rimworld might be worth 10 points, James worth 50 points, and Jill worth as much as a small African nation. So when raids are getting 50% larger, that means there are 50% more points in each raid. This will be very relevant later, but right now, I have to wear a dead person's clothes. I don't care how much blood, guts, or fecal matter it may have. My people are going to wear them. And while they get the diarrhea out of their clothes, Makaros Koros has a special job. 2 Thrumbos entering the region. Tall, venerable, serene, and very valuable. I believe in hunting the all-natural way, by respecting the ecosystem, being in tune with the land, and psychic blasting the Thrumbos into incapacitation, then beating them with a rock. Thrumbo horns sell for a lot of money, and with microelectronics, we finally got a comms console. This is where all the respectable merchants are, like the organ trader, and I've got plenty of merchandise. Screech's recruitment skills amount to, "Hey pal, what's your construction skill?" For reference, it's 2. On the front line near the wall, I completed a double-layered hotbox. There are no drugs in here, just disappointment and a slow, painful death of heat stroke. I tried seeing just how hot our heaters could get, and it's not even close to 900 Fahrenheit. Next, I tried adding a steam geyser. It was almost there, but not consistent enough to matter. Even in a testing world, 2 steam geysers connected couldn't do it either, and neither could lots of heaters, so our dreams of downing Big Jim with heat stroke were basically fruitless. Still, there might be a more creative option available to us. And by creative, I mean something so stupid there's no way the mod creators thought of it. Finland first, because I have to fight Wave 4. Or I should say it was Wave 4. As soon as Big Jim was done reenacting the atheist version of David and Goliath, we lured him further into the compound into a big-ass maze. This whole time, I've had to manually queue hundreds of commands to keep Jim running in a circle and play on 1x speed. Now I could just put him to flee hostile targets and he'll loop Big Jim forever, or at least until I noticed something for the first time. This button. The Black Leaper is tameable somehow. If we could find a way to temporarily down it, and it just so happens, Big Jim is getting hungry. Kiting for 2 weeks means victory through attrition is actually feasible by just waiting him out. Therefore, Wave 5 was our next concern. A pretty easy wave fighting Shogunate Samurai, i.e. people without light machine guns. The next 5 days was progression, ship chunks for components, a machining table for crafting, recruiting White, and curing him of his warpstone addiction with lots of beer. We could now craft ourselves a super shotgun and give it to Kato. The base was looking at least marginally better. We were stockpiling resources, and the Void is expanding. So let's talk about the Void. The Void is a faction of hyper-advanced, genetically engineered sociopaths. Their weapons are insane, their armor is almost invulnerable, and they just took a settlement from the Adeptus Astartes Space Marines. Eventually, one of these waves will be them. So our endgame is to prepare for the higher waves, including the Void. More minor events like this Chaos Rift is no match for the human spirit and its indomitable shotgun. A few demons made it into Big Jim's maze and met Korn's true champion. The oncoming Wave 5 comes with a caveat, a modifier giving reinforcements. The Ari Ashigaru, besides giving me Shogun 2 flashbacks, are countered by a very angry man vomiting acid and firing a shotgun. The Wave reward gave us Zack, a pig man. Now hear me out, if I butchered him, would it be human meat or pig meat? I called this dilemma Schrodinger's cannibalism.
I don't know if SpongeBob is dead or alive until I watch inside the box. Shut up.
He's also a member of the Italian fascist army, probably unrelated. Morale on the Rim was doing fairly well, between looting Japanese alcohol off the Shogunate and ignoring Ivan Woman's food poisoning and dead sister. The next wave would be 19 tribals. Within the next 5 days, we could now complete an important quest, the Deserter. Accepting gives us a free colonist, somehow wielding a bolt gun, and sends an Empire loyalty squad to catch her. I don't know how they acquired las guns, but it was nice of the squad to donate them to me. This reveals the location of an Empire outpost with 2 Psylink neuroformers, letting us gain more Psycasters. I sent Kato and Screech, seeing as they'd become best Stockholm Syndrome friends. My team showed up to the compound and killed the Empire with vomit. 2 Psylinks acquired for just about nothing. I might have also stolen a whole ass solar farm because you can't have shit on the Rim. While they were on their way back, I gave Jim his monthly 30-minute break, which he spent throwing horseshoes before working a 72-hour shift in the mines, the ball-crushing mines, where they crush your balls. His kiting job was replaced by Zack, whom I forgot about immediately until his leg was punched off by Big Jim. He's also my only doctor, so he had to fix it too. For the next raid, I built a heat stroke kill box, although it has a minor problem. It's cold. I need to simultaneously keep the doors open, but keep the temperature high, and heaters just aren't good enough at getting incredibly hot temperatures, so we'll have to try a different heating method later, and hope we can deal with the tribals. At least we still have a good choke point. Huh? No, Mothra, open the door! Thank Randy for sidecasting, or else this probably would have ended the colony. Multiple downed colonists, everyone bleeding, and now 17 ninjas on the way. But at least we have the finest medicine on the rim. It's just that I've banned everyone from using it. We should be using natural medicine, like if you were diagnosed with a tapeworm. Go to the doctor and they'll give you some lame medicine, sure, whatever. But if you're cool, you'll do what I do, which is drink an entire bottle of ghost pepper hot sauce and duct tape your asshole shut. Make those tapeworms regret the day they ever crawled into you. You think you're in my stomach? No, this is hell. And the only way out is through my ass. Buckle up, little buddy. The ride's about to start. So missing a leg? Walk it off. But in Rimworld, when something bad happens, it's really an opportunity for learning. So when I say Void is now hostile, we have a psychic drone, and a Jabberscythe is trying to kill us, the lesson here is that I need drugs. Also, if you don't know what a Jabberscythe is, it's very big and has a 5% chance to not eat you. It's between him at the top and a mad iguana on the bottom, raging against the storm for about 20 hours, and despite a tunnel connecting the two, the Jabberscythe did not dare face him. Regardless, with the waves beginning to get higher, raids starting to get bigger, and our colonists getting outscaled, let's talk about raid AI and heat. Generally, in Rimworld, heat could come from a few sources: the outside temperature, a heater, a steam geyser, or some machines. Having a 2-tile thick wall helps keep heat in, but the moment either a wall to the outside is broken or enough roof tiles are removed, the temperature immediately switches to the outdoor temperature. But doors are weird. Closed doors are better for insulation, but for whatever reason, open doors also provide insulation too. That means that with enough open doors, you can get the same insulation as a closed door. And we need open doors to trick raiders into walking through the kill box. If the doors are closed, they'll beat down the walls and break in, which is also why I dug a massive tunnel from the bottom side to the top side. So if we use open doors, now we just need a source of heat powerful enough to stay at a high temperature for a while. I mentioned 4 sources of heat, but a 5th is fire. An inside fire will rapidly increase the temperature to insane levels, enough to down pretty much any enemy. If we replace our heaters with wooden floors and craft humanity's best friend, a Molotov cocktail, we gain a way to ignite the floor, exploding the temperature, all while tricking raiders into walking through the fire because the doors are still open. Besides, the resources to make chem fuel are very renewable, bones, and I've been storing a lot of those. While we work on that, the rest of the colony needed improvement. I started building an indoor hydroponics area for space crack farming, received Ray, the Slaneshi spellcaster, as a wave reward, and got a combat supplier trade ship. Then promptly bankrupted them by trading hundreds of bows, swords, and shivs for chemical weapons. The Jabberscythe jabber-slithered away, somehow, while our prison became a homeless fight club where the last man standing gets shot. After nearly 30 days of constant kiting, Big Jim was finally out of food and began to starve. Using 2 spellcasters, we could now temporarily down him while we dealt with Wave 7. The heat box would make quick work of any raiders. You can now see the flaw of kill boxes when people drop on top of you. It's truly something when raiders set fire to everything in sight, kill themselves on said fire, and leave you to put it out. If Kato wasn't standing in the hallway tanking 24 shurikens, that probably would have gone a lot worse. Everybody is mostly okay, except for Zach, who's now missing his eye. Also, the reason the drop pods are made of fire is a weird mod conflict. Your guess why is as good as mine. The raiders are not my only enemy, because the errors in the debug log have been steadily increasing, and I have been consistently ignoring them until they go away. One of the other unexpected twists is that Big Jim is no longer hostile. He just sits in the labyrinth like some kind of minotaur, meaning he can be tamed. We just need some meat and a handler. White gently touched the black leaper. Yeah, I think he's still hostile. He just won't leave the cave. On the bright side, his hunger is satiated. I'm just gonna forbid opening the door, because the next raid is the mercenary faction. It's not a lot of people, and that's because they all wear armor, have light machine guns, and are addicted to ketamine. Just like my newly enslaved Italian man who had a wake-up withdrawal I cured by giving him wake-up. I call it the CIA debt trap. If he doesn't want to sleep, that's fine with me. I also added some recreational furniture, because right now the only things to do are throw horseshoes or stargaze outside while 2 people are beating each other into unconsciousness. What we really need is consistent trading, because orbital traders are so uncommon. If we manage to increase our relations with someone, we can request traders and military assistance. The only nearby factions are some useless tribals, the Void faction, who we cannot make peace with, even if I agree with their destruction of the Republic of Finland, and the Doom faction, meaning we need need transport pods to send them stuff to increase our goodwill. So even more mining and research. But first, Wave 8. Imagine being a mercenary for hire, deciding to raid this random colony because why not, and you're forced to walk through a brick structure to get there. And when you get to the end, a large rat slams the door on you, and all of a sudden, there's a fire behind you. So you slickly slam the wall with your left fist and die. Your allies who make it to the end are about as lucky. Finally, having a decent functioning heat box is extremely important to surviving because the next wave is 3 Wargors, 10 Minotaurs, 9 Razorgors, 1 Beastlord, 8 Ancient Chaos Spawn, 3 Bestigors, 11 Tuskgors, 1 Ravager, 3 Raiders, and 1 Cygor. That is a lot. And to beat it, we'll need to make some big changes. Number 1, give Kato a lobotomy. The Void faction adds a series of brain implants into the game, each with their own stacking bonuses. From the conversion chamber, we got our first, a Havoc implant, improving combat stats across the board. With enough implants, Space Marine armor, and a chainsword, we could turn Kato into the literal Terminator. The second was Big Jim. Taming was still possible, I just needed someone who could survive it. And the only person I could think of was Jim. Jim firmly touched the Black Leaper. Jim offered slow, friendly gestures to the Black Leaper. Jim tamed the Black Leaper. And it only cost a bruise on his leg, because the other is gone. The Leaper's first move was to gobble 2 entire corpses, barely filling his hunger bar. Big Jim is like a giant dog, who will eat every single thing in the base if we let him. So his new home is the Gym Zone, conveniently located on an all-you-can-eat buffet. While we trained them up using happy clicking noises, we had a Wanderer join, either because they hate themselves, or they really want to kill Beastmen. So to quote a famous World War I general, I'm gonna use chemical weapons. 1 Amazon Prime delivery of the Anarchist cookbook later, and we're in business. Some of the recipes are a little questionable, like putting beer in a mortar tube for rage gas, or using smoke leaf to get people so high they fall asleep, but either way I built a field gun and started production. Of course, while I was looking at the menu, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what this is. I do know that it opened the door, strolled in, and began to consume Zach. Look, buddy, this isn't McDonald's. You can't just walk in and eat people. For whatever reason, this pleases our people. The cannibalism does not. It's time for Wave 9, so I gathered everyone up at the choke point and it's drop pods. All over the map, drop pods. I threw Big Jim in the choke point and everyone else to clear up the base. Somehow, most of the beastmen dropped outside of the walls, forcing them to walk through a maze guarded by Clifford the big red dog. Except he's not a dog, not named Clifford, and he's only red after he kills 30 people. Not even a single casualty on our side. The reward from the wave was prosthetics, which is worthless because I've already got spare limbs. And the next wave is a problem. 25 enemies is not a lot, unless it's those 25 enemies. Those are war caskets. People who feel no pain, carry miniguns, and they've got death acidifiers, meaning we can't even loot their stuff. And that's not even the bad part. The mod they come from is Vanilla Pirates Expanded, which is a great mod by the way, but it adds a unique raiding strategy for this faction specifically. Instead of walking or drop potting, they will kamikaze their ships directly into the colony, so this choke point will do nothing. The rainstorm is pretty accurate to how screwed we are, but I think I know a way around this, and it involves lots of money. It also involves a mechanoid cluster, because by accepting this quest we can spawn one. As long as I don't activate it, one of the raids will. Ironically, it has a climate adjuster, making things colder, but like this is the desert, so thanks. To keep our colony happy, I think it's important to incentivize good behavior, so I gave Big Jim a medical procedure to administer strawberry beer. The only problem alcohol can't fix is running out of alcohol and getting plasteel. Our research is stuck because we need plasteel for a multi-analyzer, and orbital traders are so rare it's unlikely we get it. But if we researched drop pods and sent a gift to a nearby faction, we could increase relations enough to call a trade caravan. I decided to give them a person as a diplomat, so I sent 2 ears, 2 eyes, 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 nose, 1 jaw, a stomach, and because I'm such a nice guy, I'll throw in a complimentary kidney. This is basically what happens on a Spirit Airlines flight. Boar is slightly unhappy about this, as shown through his -53 mood debuff. Fortunately, he has no spine. I gave it to our cook, who ironically has no stomach. My colonists are amazingly happy either. Oh my goodness, someone's organs were harvested but I did eat that lavish meal. We did have a small issue when someone insulted Makaros, so he psychic blasted them into unconsciousness, then went on a mental break to try and kill Zach. It might have had something to do with my heaters, because in trying to solve the hypothermia, I may have gone a little overboard. We were now neutral with the Doom faction, because they apparently enjoy opening gifts filled with organs, medieval weaponry, and tainted clothing. It's like regifting an ugly sweater, except it's not ugly, it's just covered in blood. I thought that was pretty weird, and then I got an offer from the Void. We will give you the plasteel you need, and all we ask for is 57 veils. Now that might sound easy, but veils can only be made from a few materials, so we can't use the easy to acquire stuff. That means our hydroponics farm needed to get larger and start growing cloth. Before long, Wave 10 was only a few hours away, so I gathered everyone into our main room and waited. These guys may be soulless killing machines, but so am I, because I have no intention of fighting them. Heading over to the comms console, we have an option to hire pirates. This comes from the same mod the war caskets are from, and lets us hire pirates for a sizable fee. Unless I choose the cheap ones. 35 silver for a single drifter, which means I can hire 89. We're going to use hired pirates to defeat the more expensive hired pirates. They're cheap because the contract expires in 1 day, if they can survive 1 day. If I had a choice, I could not physically pick worse weapons for the drifters. Clubs, shivs, and in a Soviet sort of way, some of them don't even have weapons. I thought 89 drifters would surely be enough, but I wasn't even close. Half of the War Casket Raiders were barely even scratched, and they only died because they ran into an immovable object. They also don't have psychic resistance, so we could psychic blast a few to capture. By the end, I think I can finally understand the meaning of a Pyrrhic victory. This is what my colonist bar looks like, and I have over 100 notifications of deaths and funerals. There are so many, it goes off the screen and took a full minute to dismiss all of them. Any remaining pirates I psychic shot to capture, and any remaining friendly pirates I ignored. Unfortunately, for each dead friendly, we incur a 5% fee on the next pirates we hire. And with 89 pirates hired, only 2 survived. The difference between being mentally ill and eccentric is lots of money, and I'm in debt. Technically, more had originally survived, they were just taking up beds. I didn't pay you to eat my food, I paid you to die in a war, so the least you can do is that. Each person was given a proper burial, i.e. hauling them into a stockpile and throwing a Molotov. As you can see, it fixed the problem very quickly. Our wave reward was both industrial and advanced components. Our next wave is from the dwarves. 260 dwarves. That might seem bad, but don't worry, they also have double health. And on top of having that to look forward to, we also got a mechanoid cluster, a second one that hopefully the dwarves will fight. After a lot of organ bribery, we also finally allied the Doom faction, allowing us to request a trade caravan from them. We also recruited 2 War Casket prisoners, probably on account of their acute brain damage. The other prisoners are unwaveringly loyal, so they'll just sit here for the rest of time. Whenever we get a sadistic rage mental break, my colonist goes into the prisoner room to get crazy and... Now, by this point, the raids are getting quite large, and it's possible this has had some unintended side effects. For example, we got an insect raid, so I brought all my colonists out to fight them, only to find out they're not hostile. For anyone not familiar, that's not supposed to happen. But fingers crossed that it won't impact anything else going forward, right? It's probably not a good omen that the Doom faction's trade caravan has My Little Pony figures in it. Don't worry, they're just slaves. I'm sure it's heartbreaking to hear that Twilight Sparkle couldn't make bail, but I'm more concerned about the 260 dwarves looking to put me in a jar. I moved Kato up to the mechanoids to activate them, just as Wave 11 began. With that many naked men, I know they're either here to kill me or strap me down and force me to watch Reggie videos. And the only way to prevent that is luring them into a blast furnace. As for activating the mechanoids, they're just not hostile. Either they crapped their trash bins upon seeing the dwarves, or they've changed their opinion on humanity after seeing a goth girl explain Five Nights at Freddy's on Facebook Marketplace. Dwarves walking into a 1,000-degree oven is very good for us, especially when they break the laws of physics and form a dwarf hydra. But there's so many, the fire will run out before they all die, and they've started to coagulate around the entrance. It's nice of them to stand still, so I can fire mortar shells on top of them. So what horrible, noxious gas is this? It makes them into animals. Totally random animals. From horses to eldritch abominations to a jabber scythe. The dwarves inside had a choice between firing squad or becoming a furry. Needless to say, rock and stone, they're dead. You might have noticed the game beginning to get pretty laggy, and it almost actually crashed just loading the wave. So ideally the next factions have more expensive units, so there's less raiders. And I'm happy to say Wave 13. It's the Skaven.
Please, somebody put me out of my misery.
So now I have mutated animals fighting on my doorstep, completely bugged out mechanoids, and 500 Skaven attacking in 5 days. Or actually 8 days because our reward delayed the wave. Also, some of you might have noticed, hey Kleaper, what happened to Wave 12? The Skaven were so hungry, they just ate the entire previous wave. Let me put it like this. If you go into dev mode and try to generate a raid, the maximum points you can assign is 10,000. We went over that limit 5 waves ago, and now we're at 43,000 raid points with it increasing even more every wave. I sent Kato outside to negotiate with the animals, and it turns out most of them aren't hostile and can be tamed. I could also destroy the mechanoid sunblocker because they don't seem to mind. Since wave 12 was skipped, we got 2 rewards. And the other was a group of friendly shamblers. I just didn't realize that shamblers could be space marines, who surrounded a behemoth in my base and beat it to death with their bare hands. The amount of weapons, corpses, and tainted clothing on the map is diabolical, although I think part of the dwarves' problem was that many of their hammers were made of rubber. Morale was so low, one of my colonists decided to leave the colony. Fortunately, he had a spontaneous change of heart. On account of burning hundreds of corpses, whenever I click a grave, I just see this. I also witnessed some casual Doom Dwarf racism, which is peanuts compared to my competitively racist zombie space marines, hunting down every man-hunting xeno animal and tearing them apart. Meanwhile, Jim transported the 57 veils the Void faction demanded, gaining us more implants for Kato and the resources to build advanced fabrication and the Codex Astartes. I built an Imperium furnace and... Excuse me? This is a dwarf, kinda. Somehow, the mutagenic gas created a tameable titan, another monstrosity like the Black Leaper, except this one is controllable and, the only difference between Titan and an 18-wheeler truck is that a truck runs off fuel and he runs off natty light. Normal people haul chunks. He hauls mountains. So the first thing this mutated bioterror did when recruited? Smoke and play pool. Then an animal tried to hunt him. So now we've got Titan and Big Jim, but Kato still needs better gear, and it just so happens that now we have Space Marine armor in the form of these Shamblers. After hunting the God Emperor's chosen enemies, like the local iguana population, they naturally expired after 5 days. Stripping them gives us their tainted armor, letting Kato equip it. He doesn't like it, but what is life if not one long parade of things you don't want to do? At least you get paid in life experiences, or preferably money, or even more preferably, the plasteel chainsword we just crafted. Add in a bunch of new implants, and Kato's DPS exceeds Big Jim and Titan combined. Between now and the Skaven raid, we had visitors from the UAC, who rated their visit as great, if we exclude the part where a wild animal killed them on their way out. I accidentally recruited Boar, the man with almost no body parts left, began expanding the heat box to be more functional, and gathered our team to deal with the Skaven. Wave 13. It's another drop pod raid with 500 Skaven. Oh my god, there's so many! The first thing they did was explode on top of a mechanoid cluster, then explode all the mortars and shells, then explode all my chem fuel, then explode my hydroponics room. Over 100 Skaven dead, and I didn't kill any of them. Screech's spellcasting and a lucky portable shield basically saved most of the colony, while Kato was on search and destroy. He did nothing but purge Skaven for 12 hours. A few hundred had to walk around, and the Skaven in the heat box caught fire, boosting the temperature further into 1,000-degree air. Titan didn't even attack, he just stood there, menacingly. By the end, every Skaven was dead to the Inferno, or Kato, and almost every colonist that could feel pain was down. I tried saving as many as I could, but inevitably a few people died. Their names were not important, but what was important was a chaos portal opening, and the demons inside were not hostile. Actually, they were hostile to the Skaven, just not me for some reason. Also, here's Big Jim being tended. This is just how many wounds he has. Low mood did lead to some mental breaks, but if you're gonna try and break out the prisoners, you've lost your leg privileges. Murderous Rage, Screech uses his special move, Cancer Beam, go! The base was possibly more red than any other color, and guess what? Go to your window and look outside. There are 500 rat girls approaching your location, and they are armed. We're gonna need to do something special to get out of this. Something to unite the colony and focus our efforts. That's right, doing crack. So I selected every single person in Belgium and made them snort lines of Warpstone Coke. They say hard times create strong men. I say hard drugs create strong men. It's really potato patata. Plus 30 mood and a set of buffs. The stat increase is only temporary if you run out of Warpstone. With our team powered by crippling dependency, our base went from this a few days ago to this right before the next wave. So can a bunch of armored medieval rat ladies beat us now? Maybe, if I hadn't run Screech through the heat box to cast AoE spells easily routing the first group. It would be a cakewalk, and then a demon opened the door. I tried to close it, but it was blocked by the rat corpses immediately, meaning we had to fairly beat the entire rest of the raid. And of course, by fair, I mean creative. And by creative, I mean bombing them with acid. Word of Power, Melt Your Skin Off, is actually pretty strong, routing the entire swarm of ratkin. Our legendary reward was about as useful as a block of wood, because it was a block of wood. Ironically, it's pretty useful, because the next wave is the Imperium of Man. 25 Librarians, 154 Space Marines, and 6, all rocking bionic implants. But by doubling the length of the heat box, adding more wooden floors, and preparing by building 100 graves, by the time the raid showed up, they waltzed into the heat box and popped before they even reached the end. No sneaky Zeech demons this time. That's another wave down, and on to the next. That can't be good. Okay, the game crashed, and I think I know why. Right now, the game is trying to generate a raid that uses up all the raid points, and it can't. Supposedly, some factions do not physically have the ability to spend this many raid points, so it just crashes the game. I tried spawning new settlements for every destroyed faction, but that still didn't fix the problem. Reloading the game, and the same issue. So I tried the nuclear option of obliterating every faction at a time to narrow down which one could spawn raids, and I found 2. The first is the Void faction, probably to nobody's surprise. The second, and I have no idea how this is the case, is a tribal faction. Our next raid is 2 Berserker Chiefs, 279 Hunters, 162 Warriors, 244 Hunters, 1 Archer Chief, 261 Heavy Archers, 261 Archers, 106 Pensions, 330 Archers, and 157 Berserkers for 1,803 total tribals and 147,000 raid points. My computer will not survive this, and the heat box won't work either because it's an Impid tribe who have heat resistance because they can all breathe fire. We'll need something else to deal with the tribals, but in the meantime, what about lag? In Rimworld, stuff causes lag. Items, pawns, events, everything. And if we can't reduce the lag enough, the game will just crash when the wave spawns. The last few raids created almost 1,000 slag chunks, hundreds of corpses, and a legion of weapons all lagging the game. So we need to channel the energy of the world's greatest leaders by taking our complex problems and dumping them somewhere else. By gathering up hundreds of chunks with Titan and Big Jim, we can form a caravan to immediately dump all the chunks on another tile and repeat this process to clean out the map. Until my worst fear came true. Big Jim got mugged by one guy. I also sent Titan to get some void loot from a random quest, a special void medicine that instantly cures any injury, but it's guarded by void soldiers.
Hey, can you... Oh yeah, sure thing. Wait a minute.
He is a 50-foot tall behemoth, and they kinda just let him through. I tried clearing as much as I could from the map, making it look like a nice clean street, where definitely nothing is on the road. I also opened up the demonic danger, which had, gasp, demons who ignored me. The people in the cryo caskets, So how exactly do I plan on beating a raid of this size? With Makaros. At the start of the game, I recruited him for one actual purpose, because at the end of the Archon Psycasting tree is Neuroquake, and we'd finally got it. Everyone in this circle, this circle will be driven violently mad and go berserk. The smaller circle is the safe zone where people are unaffected, so I gathered my colonists around Makaros and waited for the raid. Please don't crash, please don't crash, please don't crash. Oh my god. This black hole is 1,800 people, and this is the speed of my game in real time. It took 30 minutes for them to get inside the Neuroquake circle, and 10 minutes to cast the Neuroquake. For reference, Neuroquake has a casting time of 12 seconds. In an instant, the block blob unfolded like a tectonic slinky and spread across the entire map. First, there was nothing but peace, and then... Another small detail I forgot to mention, none of these people can feel pain. Now, I'm not gonna torture you by showing the whole ass thing as I saw it, so this is what it looked like for 2 hours. Almost an entire in-game day later, and there's still this many people alive. Meanwhile, the raid is over, and we're on to the next and final wave, the Void. Wave 20 was the goal for this video, but I did not expect the game to literally be unraveling at the seams. Wave 17 is as far as I can go, because Wave 18 will actually melt my GPU, because the 1800 tribals made my computer sound like a category for hurricane. I had to use incendiary mortars just to burn enough corpses so I could get a stable frame rate. My best efforts, and it still looks like this, until we had a miracle. A group of guests come to visit the colony. By making a massive stockpile covering the tribals, I can trade with the visitors. And by trade, I mean gift everything. Preston is now carrying enough tools to defend all the settlements that need your help. The Neuroquake also gives a -12 mood debuff to all of our people, so I just changed their drug policy from some to a lot. So what kind of easy, cheesy strategy can we employ this time? None. There is no easy way to beat the Void. They're immune to psychic powers, heat damage, heat stroke, most weapons, while having an absurd ranged and melee damage, all while regenerating health and body parts rapidly. One of these would kill half the colony. There's 129 in the wave. If we want to win, we have to sacrifice everything. So that's what we're gonna do. Sometimes it's not about winning, but by making sure that if you lose, so does everyone else. I have done nothing but build nuclear warheads for 5 days and send all our important resources to the bottom right of the map. A bunker with plasteel doors, walls, and an Astartes bolt gun turret, plus all the food we could ever need. With nobody to stop them, the Void will walk directly into the base, and that's exactly what we need. Ignac, the wealthy, Godspeed, my unwilling soldiers. Well, I'm glad we got that out of our system, because they're still alive. 23 Void enemies either outran or out-tanked through 9 nuclear explosions. And now, they're on their way. The mini turrets in front stalled for a few seconds, while the advanced doors kept them locked out for a little bit. I gathered everyone in defensive positions, used Screech's spells to poison the area, and waited for them to break through. But I've got one last trick up my sleeve. A rat with a remote control. Nobody could survive an orbital beam targeter blasting the power of the sun unless they were immune to heat damage, which I forgot they are. Even with Titan, Big Jim, and a drunken dwarf manning the door, the Void Hound started to break through, with all of our weapons dealing nearly no damage. And just when I thought we were dead, boom. Screech's poison had slowly downed the Void monsters one by one. Kato was able to rush in and finish them off before they recovered. It may have cost our entire base, but we had survived Wave 17. As for Wave 20, I'd like my computer intact.